Decades after the verdict was reached, many still scratch their heads at how O.J. Simpson was found not guilty for the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman. It was a trial watched around the world, and it didn't go especially smoothly. The murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman occurred sometime between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. on June 12, 1994. However, shortly after 11 that night, O.J. Simpson got into a waiting limo, which took him to Los Angeles International Airport to board a flight to Chicago.
On Sunday night, O.J. Simpson was taking off in the red eye in first class. 20 minutes later, his ex-wife and a friend were found dead outside her home.
The bodies of his ex-wife and Goldman were discovered shortly after midnight, and by noon on June 13th, O.J. Simpson was back in Los Angeles, where he was questioned by police but not arrested. In fact, he wasn't arrested until 4 days later on June 17th, even though police had noted the presence of bloodstains on his white Ford Bronco and had discovered a glove on his property that seemed to match one found near the bodies. To an outside observer, it might seem ludicrous not to place O.J. under arrest. However, fame seems to extend to many unexpected corners of the human experience. As UCLA law professor Peter Aranella explained in an analysis of the case by PBS, his celebrity status explains why he wasn't arrested very early on in the case, when the average defendant, given the blood evidence, would have been arrested immediately. The detectives handled him not like a criminal suspect, but like a celebrity. In the early afternoon of June 17th, the police announced that O.J. Simpson was indeed a suspect in the murders, and that they were actively seeking to bring him in. For a few tense hours, it actually appeared as though one of the most beloved figures in U.S. sports history might go on the lam from the authorities. However, at around 6 p.m. that evening, Simpson himself called 911 to report his whereabouts. As it turned out, he was in the backseat of his friend's white Ford Bronco, heading at a leisurely speed down the freeway, a gun to his head, and the owner of the vehicle, Al Cowlings, behind the wheel. For the rest of that evening, local and national news covered the unfolding drama as Simpson, threatening suicide, slowly made his way toward his Brentwood estate. The chase was watched by millions of people and surely raised questions about how, months later, Simpson could possibly plead not guilty to the crimes when his actions on that surreal day seemed to so clearly broadcast his guilt. Years after the fact, in an interview for Fox TV, Simpson explained himself by saying that he had watched all of the considerable public esteem he had amassed over the years suddenly disappear, and that when his ex-wife and her friend were killed, he felt as if he too had been killed.
Ron and Nicole were physically dead, and it's almost like they killed me. Who I was attacked and murdered also.
When the trial was initially set to take place in Santa Monica, where the crime was committed, it has long been thought that it was ultimately moved to downtown Los Angeles to avoid the appearance of bias, as Santa Monica is predominantly white. Indeed, Simpson ended up with a jury predominantly composed of 8 black jurors. However, William Hodgman, one of the lead prosecutors on the case, claims the notion that the prosecution was trying to avoid having their famous black client tried in front of a mostly white jury is a misconception. Speaking with PBS, Hodgman explained that, at the time, most major cases in the entirety of Los Angeles County were being tried downtown, and by filing charges against Simpson there rather than in Santa Monica, the prosecution was just trying to get on with the proceedings. He explained, "It was a practical awareness that the case was going to be tried here, so let's not beat around the bush. Let's get the case queued up and let's